Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to be here with Game 3 of mouzMorroW. Going to be spawning here as the red Zergy in the east-western position. And we do have Mr. Bischu, taking the task Bischu, going to be spawning here as the yellow Protoss over in the right-hand eastern position on dual site. So we will have the final ace match here. Will Bischu be victorious, or will mouzMorroW rise to the challenge and take the second game in a row off Mr. Bischu? As I said before, in that previous game we did have Bischu going for that kind of 6-gate timing push, and I really don't particularly like that against a Zerg as well conditioned as mouzMorroW. He is more than used to those timing attacks, so he's able to deal with them very, very handily indeed. Meanwhile, though, we do have Bischu looking to go for a little bit of a Forge Fast Expand once again on the bottom low ground here. mouzMorroW throwing out the good game, good luck, and Mr. Bischu returning the compliment. So I don't think we'll see. I think we'll see mouzMorroW open pretty standard once again. Going to be going for that spawning pool and extractor first, no doubt. It's a bit of a big risk to go for that kind of hatch first against Protoss. You know, if they do get that nice cannon off, so we'll have to see if mouzMorroW does opt for that. Maybe going to go for 14-14, but it looks like he's actually going to try and maybe that's a scouting drone, not an expanding drone. So, yeah, we do have that spawning pool going down there for mouzMorroW, so he is going to be in an alright position. Now, here's the thing. Will Bischu go for a Nexus first like we saw him go for in the first game, as he did go for that after seeing that spawning pool timing? That could indeed be very, very likely as well, especially since he's saving up so many minerals, but this drone could come in to deny that, but it doesn't look like Mr. Morrow is going to react too quickly there. So indeed, oh, there we go, we have a bit of a spawning forge going down as well as a pylon to be able to block any expansion that does go down at this point, so not too bad there from Bischu. But meanwhile, you know, I think he could have got that Nexus first and put himself in a fantastic position. Not to worry though, as Bischu now will be going for that very soon, and it looks like mouzMorroW is trying to deny as much as he can. Meanwhile, second pylon going down for Bischu at this expansion point. No Zerglings out just yet. They will need to come out in order to be able to clean this up as quickly as possible. I love it. I absolutely love it when I see Protoss go for the pylon, let it finish, and then go for a cybernetics core behind it. But ultimately, you know, that is a sort of a rarity. Quite a bit of minerals wasted, but ultimately that cybernetics core will be able... Oh, actually letting that go down. So mouzMorroW was able to get that up pretty painlessly. Meanwhile, though, we do have that Nexus going up for Bischu and a cannon going down in place. And this cannon is basically placed here very nicely in order to be able to cover the extremities of the top of this Nexus and the bottom of that Forge against any Zergling attacks. But this will be sort of susceptible to Roach attacks. Ultimately, if Roaches do stand here, they are able to fire in pretty handily and avoid that cannon fire. Also, down the lower end of this Forge, they're able to fire in from here, whilst that cannon is not able to reach. So that is something that Bischu will have to consider going into this game, as that can be very detrimental indeed to a Protoss fast expand. Meanwhile, though, back at home, mouzMorroW is just going to be continuing those lava ejects. We do have a Roach Warren already on the way, so what I was just saying about that expansion could come into play considerably. And mouzMorroW knows everything that is going on right here. Going to be throwing down a second photon cannon, but I saw a question on the positioning of this cannon, as once again it really doesn't cover much more of the area than this one already does. And against Roaches, if Mr. Morrow is going to be going for some really hyper early aggression, you really need some kind of coverage in order to be able to not let those Roaches just get free damage on your buildings. So indeed, we will have to see. Cybernetics core is now going down, going to be creating that little bit of a choke there. And I always like this kind of SimCity a bit more than I do than the standard kind of top of your ramp SimCity. Reason being is if you go for those Archon compositions later on in the game, it's very hard to transverse this kind of standard wall in with Archons at the top of your ramp. You actually do have to kill off a building so you can get Archons into the main, say if the Berserk does go for some kind of Mutalist play, etc. Regardless, though, we do have 5 Roaches already on the way for Mr. Morrow, 2 more as well coming out here, so he is going to be going for some crazy early aggression. And again, I've got to point out these big kind of holes in Bischu's defense right now, which could be exploited to the max. And we do have a little bit of a Zealot chasing a lone Zergling out here. Not the best position for that Zealot to be in. He will get picked off pretty darn quickly if he so desires. But look at that, Bischu actually controlling that watchtower, denying the Zealot from actually getting any control. So he did not see all these Roaches coming across the map right now. And just go to Bischu's camera, he doesn't see anything going on right now other than that having that little engagement at the watchtower. So now these roaches are going to come in here. The Zergling's going to come in as well, try and do a bit of damage. He now spots the roaches. These roaches are going to have free reign over this Nexus. He really doesn't have anything to be able to defend this, trying to rush as many sentries out as possible. But right now, that is not what he needs. The sentries are going to have such a hard time dealing with this. Meanwhile, though, we do have a Twilight Council going out in the back of Bischu's base. So it looks like this Nexus may fall here. And the Zergling's trying to get a little bit of poking action off on some of these drones. Meanwhile, though, another Photon Cannon does go down, trying to protect his other buildings, as well as denying any kind of run-by play that does come along at this point for mouzMorroW with these Speedlings. We have 3 more gateways on the way as well for Bischu, so just getting those in preparation to be able to spend any kind of extra money that he does have at some point. These cannons going to be able to hold this off ever so slightly, but ultimately those roaches would have been able to deal with that pretty handily. Force fields do go down, though, to deny the Zerglings from getting any coverage on those buildings. And now, oh my god, we have a Dark Shrine going down, but look at this, in perfect vision of that Overlord, and now the roaches will be able to get some coverage on this Forge. Just going to be moving back and forth from those sentries in order to be able to kind of evade their fire as well. And that is the only real gap opener there, so the sentries on the high ground will be able to do some damage. Zergling's going to be running in, though, trying to get as much coverage on these cannons as possible. They don't get the coverage they require, though, as force fields do get planted down. And mouzMorroW here is doing such a fantastic job of doing damage, although that being said, with this force out now, if he controls this properly, he's going to be able to fend this off. Although it's getting perilously close to having to cancel this Nexus once again. If he has to cancel this, this could be a huge blow to Bischu, even though he's already had huge blows actually happen to him. So now, able to clean this up by the looks of things without having to cancel. Nice play there by Bischu. Really kind of keeping on top of his opponent's force there in the later stages. So now we have mouzMorroW going to be setting up a little bit of a defense for any kind of DTs that come along, having a few spine crawlers in place, as well as that spore crawler will be able to bottlenose the bottleneck even those DTs coming here. And look at that, actually cancelling the 2 spine crawlers. He realizes that he may not need as much defense as he's going for. Overcommitting is a bad thing indeed. So he is in a fine position, as the spore crawler will provide the detection and everything else will clean it up. So 2 DTs coming down here, trying to spot that third, assuming that mouzMorroW would have gone for that behind that epic aggression. You have a layer morphing in as well, but these Zerglings will be able to deal with this. 2 spot crawlers are already in great positions in order to be able to spot this. The first DT falls, and the second DT just barely escapes there, as I thought that first DT was just barely going to sneak out of spore crawler range. He would have had to reposition that. That would have been a painful task indeed. But meanwhile, another DT going to be moving up to the north here to check this position for a third expansion. Nice play there, and actually taking a risky third behind this. Ultimately, this could be very, very vulnerable to those Zergling counterattacks that do come along every so often in this matchup. So Bischu here going for the risky business, and going to try and pull ahead in terms of macro, as he does have Zealot Charge on the way. We would like to see some upgrades going down anytime soon. No reason not to get those out as quickly as possible. Does already have +1, so those Zealots will be very proficient against those Zerglings. So, what will happen now? Going to be getting some creep spread going on for mouzMorroW, as always fantastic to be able to open up your mobility opportunities here. Going to be getting that +1 and +1 armor as well for his ground units. Auxiliary Constitution on the way, and ultimately Zergs can commit to kind of a very roach-heavy kind of composition if they so see fit. Templar Archives on the way as well. Ultimately, Storm doesn't do a huge amount to roaches, depending on whether or not the micro is good enough with those roaches. You have Burrow on the way as well. Odd choice to a certain degree, as this position here is already slightly cannoned off, although he will require waiting for an observer before he does move out. Does have that robo on the way, so that's going to be fantastic in order to be able to deal with any kind of defensive burrow play that does come along. Getting a cannon at this third so important in order to be able to deal with that burrow harass if it does come along. Lone Dark Templar here running here, there and everywhere across the map, and it looks like there is an Overseer as well as some Zerglings just trying to spot any kind of DT shenanigans that are going on down to the south. So not too bad at all. Checking a third again, but he doesn't actually know that this third is going up. So that is a big boon for Bischu right now. Does have those high Templar out, and ultimately when you are going for some kind of Archon composition, we do have those Archons already out. Ooh, gonna maybe be able to catch a DT here with these Zerglings, but ultimately, actually using great stop micro there in order to be able to delay the DT from actually making any moves at all. Will get that DT and then fall back, as their reinforcing Zealots will chase those away. And ultimately, yeah, coming back to the High Templar versus Dark Templar thing into DT. Oh, wait a minute though. A little bit of an engagement does go down. The roaches will be able to clean up these zealots pretty quickly if they do get out of position. But yeah, so for the third time, coming back to the High Templars versus DT things for High Templars, I mean Archons. Ultimately, if you do want to go for lighter gas Dark Archons, then you can go for those DTs. But ultimately, if you want to go for the higher kind of unit count with these, getting more zealots out with that army, then you want to go for the High Templars to morph those in, as you can get, like, I don't know, it works out as like if you, I don't know, get like 5 Archons worth of Archons with DTs, you only get those 5 Archons, but you can get 4 Archons and like 4 Zealots if you go for the High Templar. So it's always nice to have those kind of numbers over kind of just the extra Archon. But obviously going into the mid-late game, it doesn't matter as much, considering you'll be on way more bases than you actually can supply at that point. So here we go. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of a roach move out now. We already have Blink being researched. Did it finish researching? That is the big question. Yes, it did. So he does already have Blink there in his arsenal if he so sees. Psystorm going to be finishing up anytime soon. These roaches do push in, try and do a little bit of damage here. The Zealots in the back here for dBischu, not in the best position. The Stalkers are blocking those off. That's not really a good position to be in at all. These roaches could do a lot of damage trying to pick away at that Nexus. Now a few Zealots do find their way to the front. Nice force fields will separate a few of those units. He doesn't have any detection. Yes, he does have the detection here. That Observer will see everything that is going on, and will be able to take out some of those burrowed roaches. Not really doing much here at all. Meanwhile, though, we do have a few reinforcing Zerglings to the south, so they'll be able to push in, maybe do some damage, maybe go for a counter-attack in the natural as well. Zarkon's being able to do quite a bit of damage, and a big storm goes down on all those Zerglings, and now big storms do go down on these burrowed roaches, so they'll have to fall out away pretty quickly. And dBischu there cleaning up that attack pretty sterling in my opinion. Not doing too bad at all. He is down on supply quite a bit though, as 9 more roaches do come out. Going to be able to recharge up those roaches as quickly as possible, and that is such an epic advantage of that burrow tech. Do have a few creep shroomers once again going to be spreading out in here, there, in every direction. Going to be able to connect up any bases that he so desires later on in the game. And here's the big thing, more roaches going to be pushing in once again, and roaches are actually a really good use, a really good way of kiting kind of Archon compositions and whittling them down slowly but surely. So we do have tunneling claws on the way as well. I'm not 100% sure where he's going to be using that right now, but there is detection here, there, and everywhere for dBischu. We do have that gold base on the way now for mouzMorroW as well though, so a lot of Banelings going to be morphing here and at this point. And do we have pathogen vengeful sacs out yet for mouzMorroW? I guess we do have pathogen glands out. Sorry, not pathogen glands, Phenumized Carapace and vengeful sacs. So he will be able to use these. There we go. We're going to have some DT Baneling bombs here for mouzMorroW as well as this composition of roaches. So ooh, this is something that mouzMorroW is very, very good at doing. Sending a Baneling bomb to each of the mineral lines, using that in order to be able to whittle down those probe numbers. We do have +2 finishing up now for these roaches as well. And all these, look at this. We're going to have a bit of a Baneling bomb engagement here. And dBischu, look, by the looks of things, realizes what's going on. Really wants to pull back as quickly as possible. Those Overlords have enough HP to be able to soak those Psystorms up, but does not want to drop any just yet. Will be dropping those just now. Baneling bomb's going to be running into the main though, taking out quite a few of those probes. Oh my god, does he have +2? He must have +2. Yes, he does have +2, so that will indeed kill those probes in one shot, and that that tells the tale there, ladies and gentlemen. 22 workers killed by those Banelings. So really nice job there by mouzMorroW. Do have an infestation pit on the way as well. He will need to get this gold base up as quickly as possible to keep up in the economy game. If dBischu gets his gold up, a few cannons in position though to be able to defend this. All the roaches going to be coming up though, and now he sees the spikes on the roaches, so he will know that they do have those tunneling claws, which is something that dBischu always needs to be wary of. Will he be sacrificing? It looks like he's going to be sacrificing the gold at this point. Baneling's going to be moving in those Overlords as well, but at the same time we have a huge move out from dBischu. He's going to be going for what looks like a bit of a base trade scenario. We have centrifugal hooks on the way for those Banelings as well, so they're going to be able to catch up with these units very, very fast, especially if they're on creep. That being said though, he has taken out quite a lot of the creep tumors on his path here, so if he uses that as a retreat path and the creep does recede, that would be fantastic. Roaches coming in from either side, the big storms land on those roaches. All the Archons getting melted at the same time, but great blink back, evading as many of those Banelings as possible. Really wants to move those back, really wants to split them up as well. Great split there, only allowing a few more of those Stalkers to be able to take some of that damage. And now mouzMorroW is in a position of power in essence. He denied his opponent's gold. been able to get up his own goal, but again, it's not quite saturated just yet. The centrifugal hooks on the way, those banelings are able to do so much more damage than people realize to this armored composition of Protoss, due to the fact that Protoss compositions just kind of gather up so well. So now we do have a few roaches in the back here. Going to try and get a little bit of harassment done on these probes. Not too bad an idea at all. They will eventually pop up, maybe. Not much going on the map right now. Just the fact that these stalkers will be moving out across the map. You have +2 weapons on the way. +2 weapons finished even. 19 more banelings going to be morphing in. An Overseer does see all this happening, though. And we have a little bit of a drone pull over to the gold here, so he's going to be in a fantastic position. Wisely getting a few spine crawlers and a spore up there in order to be able to defend against that DT tech that has been out on the field for quite a while, but not utilized as much as I would like to see. That being said, he does have quite good spore crawler placements across in his entire base positions, and now it looks like mouzMorroW is going to be gearing up for a little bit of a push once again. He understands exactly where the Protoss positioning is due to his creep vision, in essence, and now looking to go for the push. And here's the big thing: if he can pin his opponent in position with fungal growth, pathogen glands is on the way though, so really not finished just yet. He won't have too much energy for those fungal growths just yet, which is something he really wants to work on. But looks like these guys are going to be coming up here. Good Psy Storms do go down on all those Zerglings. Once again, another good Psy Storm does go down, whittling those numbers down as quickly as possible. And it looks like we're going to have a bit of a concave here going on for mouzMorroW. Fantastic concave. Big fungal growths go down. Big baneling drops go down on all the army, pulling back half of the army, but it's not quite enough to be able to keep up with morrow's macro at this point, as they really needs to keep his unit retention a little bit higher than this. Big storm does go down, whittling down the numbers of these roaches. And nice blink play. Once again, going to be able to take out as many of these roaches as possible. But ultimately, the Protoss in this position can't be really trading with the Zerg, although the Zerg really doesn't have too much of an economy to speak of behind this. In order to be able to replenish, both players pretty even on economy. mouzMorroW slightly ahead because he does have this gold base up and running ever so slightly. But meanwhile, dBischu is getting his gold base up and running as well. So now he is in not too bad a position, but again, falling behind ever so slightly on the income count. So let's just go to the units, ladies and gentlemen. 62 drones to 68 harvesters for dBischu. So that could spell doom for mouzMorroW. It's only a little bit of a deficit. I'm kind of over-exaggerating, creating a bit of a sensational outlook there, but it doesn't matter. We do have +3 on the way for dBischu. Looks like mouzMorroW is going to be pushing up to this north position, trying to take out the gold as quickly as possible. Not really much of a point moving into the natural, as it is almost mined out. Really wants to do the damage where it matters at this point, although if he did push into the natural and then the main, he could take out some of that key tech structures, which is so vital for the Protoss at this point. Big storms going down once again. No banelings in these overlords. Could actually fake out his opponent, send those overlords in, force the retreat, but at the same time, he's going to be retreating with these units here. Doesn't want to lose these infestors, as that would be bad. Loses one infestor, that's not good. A second infestor does fall as well. Big fungal growth down and go down on all these. The overlords move in there, and the few stalkers were trying to focus those down ever so slightly, but they really don't have any banelings in, so that is the big difference in that. mouzMorroW now pushing in, trying to take as many of these stalkers out as possible. Another nice storm does go down in order to be able to kind of whittle down the health of these units. Meanwhile, though, we do have a little bit of a drop in the main here. mouzMorroW going to be trying to go for a little bit of damage, but dBischu realizes this, warping in units at the right time in order to be able to deal with that. Very nicely done there by dBischu. And now mouzMorroW is in an odd position. He is very far ahead in supply. Does have that hive morphing in, so he could indeed take up to that Broodlord infested composition, which is so deadly in this matchup, and in every matchup, in fact, right now. But look at this, dBischu keeping a great eye on his opponent's army, just being able to make sure that he's not going to be doing anything too tricky with his entire army for the entirety of this game. Always very nice to keep an eye on your opponent's army. And meanwhile, though, just getting this gold nice and up and running here. Not too bad at all. Keeping this defended. It's really this key position right now that mouzMorroW wants to barrel down on, take out, and if he can take it out, he will be in a fantastic position. Baneling Bomb's going to be coming in here, though, and once again, mouzMorrow's trademark style going to be trying to rain down havoc on these. Does take out a few cannons, but big storms go down. They're forced to retreat, and only a few stalkers left in the back here in order to be able to deal with this. Same time, though, the roaches are in the base trying to pick off this lone pylon that was powering a little bit. Did take out one pylon over here as well, so underpowers one of those gates. Few zealots going to be moving down to the gold base here. They could do a bit of damage indeed. That +3 just about to finish up now, so they will rip through those spine crawlers given the opportunity. Meanwhile, though, mouzMorroW realizes the little bit of an impending attack here. Going to be moving a few units maybe down to this position. Going to be going for what looks like a big counter-attack here with the Zerglings running up into the main potentially. Going to be doing a lot of damage. Will be focusing down those cannons as quickly as possible. possible, but not really the best position for Zerglings to be engaging at this point. Going to be running into the main here. There really isn't that much to be able to deal with this. Meanwhile, though, we do have Zealots actually being cleaned up by a few of the roaches of mouzMorroW down in the bottom position. All the roaches now trying to run up into the main, trying to do crippling damage to the tech of dBischu, and these DTs will be able to try and clean this up as quickly as possible. Nice fungal growth, though, go down on all these DTs, revealing them, doing so much damage to those. And those roaches will be in a sort of a base trade scenario. What on earth? dBischu going for a bit of a counter-attack with some Stalkers. Going to be warping in a few more Stalkers as well here. These High Templar very, very low on health. 1 health on all of these High Templar. So they are almost dead. But meanwhile, roaches in the main of dBischu doing so much damage. Infested Terrans as well. Holy Infested Terrans, Batman. They do so much damage. If given the opportunity, they just move like turtle. And now it looks like dBischu in the main going to be able to maybe take down the hive. That would be big, denying any more tech paths for mouzMorroW. That being said, he has all the tech he potentially needs in order to be able to deal with this. Does lose the Templar Archives by the looks of things. No, actually hasn't lost it just yet. Just kind of preparing for losing the Templar Archives. Wants to keep those High Templar in play in order to be able to do the big storms that he requires. And now these Stalkers are going to have free reign over the base of mouzMorroW, but at the same time, so much damage being done in the base of dBischu. He is really not in a good position at all. I don't know why I'm getting these weird frame lags, but it doesn't really matter at all. As now dBischu is in an odd position. Going to be losing his Cybernetic Sword. Does he have another one morphing in? No, he does not. So he's not going to be able to get any more Stalkers out right now. Going to be expanding to what is, in theory, mouzMorrow's base. And look at this, mouzMorroW going to be expanding to what is, in theory, his opponent's base as well. We have a few Infestors here trying to position themselves. Photon Cannons going to be warping in, though. They're going to be able to spot those in no time. And we do have, finally, the Zerglings going to be cleaning up the rest of dBischu's base here. And these roaches are just trying to find here, there, and everywhere, trying to find a good position to be able to engage the rest of the Protoss. And dBischu just doing such a good job here of denying any kind of tech from his opponent. And ultimately, as Zerg player, you really need that tech out in order to be able to do something. So he is going to be getting his Roach Warrant up yet again at this gold base here. Meanwhile, though, the DTs are able to clean up quite a few drones to the north, and we do have mouzMorroW looking to gear up for a little bit of a counter-attack here. More Infested Terrans going to be going down now, pushing in with as many roaches as possible, maybe even going to try and focus down this Nexus at some point. Really wants to take out that defensive first, though, and these Infestors have so much energy in order to be able to do some good damage here, but at the same time, dBischu going to be pushing in with a lot of Stalkers down to this bottom position. This is a ridiculous base trade scenario, ladies and gentlemen. Both players just going hell for leather at it, both trying to take out as many bases as possible, but at this point, dBischu is sort of upper base in essence. He has both these bases mining, doesn't really have much to be able to replenish, though, as these roaches will be able to take out all the gateways at this point. dBischu will be dead in the water once all those gateways do go down, but the last hatchery of mouzMorroW could fall here. He has quite a bit of minerals to be able to kind of build a hatchery elsewhere, but once his hatchery goes down, he's not going to be able to have any more income whatsoever, so really need to be able to deal with that. Taking his drones over to these roaches, the sanctuary of the roaches in essence. Now he is trying to whittle down this gold here, will be able to kill that as quickly as possible, but at the same time, this is a pretty scary force for dBischu right now. He has a few storms out with these units, and will be able to catch some roaches off guard in transition. That is pretty big. All the roaches on a move command, they won't be able to do much at all. And at the same time, we do have mouzMorroW going to be throwing down, holy moly, that is a lot of spine crawlers. Going to try to get this base up as quickly as possible, and you know, to try and get himself back in this game. But dBischu here doing a pretty good job with his Stalkers, and now it looks like mouzMorroW trying to focus down all these nexuses as quickly as possible. Once again, weird frame line, sorry about that, doesn't matter. As now these Stalkers will be able to do quite a bit of damage. Big fungal growth do land on these units, though, but really needs to be able to chain those fungal growths in order to be able to deal the damage he requires, as ultimately these forces will be able to recharge their shields pretty darn quickly. Big blink in here, the Observer. Where on earth is the Observer? I don't even think it's here. And there we go, there's the Observer. Where on earth is it? I can't see it. There we go. So it does come in just in time. Those Infestors do scurry away with the burrow, and now dBischu does not have any more Nexi, which is a bit bad indeed. He does have the minerals to be able to replenish those, but these Stalkers could do a lot of damage. All these Spine Crawlers trying to burrow as quickly as possible to be able to get into a reinforced defensive position. Big fungal growth goes down on a bit of these Stalkers, though, but not as much as he would like. Poking away action now as these Spine Crawlers hold for the last stand, what looks like mouzMorroW at this point. And if he can just kind of hold sturdy here, get some units out as quickly as possible from this hatchery, he could be in a good position. Doesn't want to position these all at the same time, as if you catch the Zerg with his pants down with all of these Spine Crawlers uprooted, that could be bad indeed. A few more probes going to be moving down here in order to try to set up a base down to the bottom position, but mouzMorroW does see this with this Overlord, so he'll be in a good position to deny that potentially. And now the Stalkers trying to move around, trying to break the economy of mouzMorroW at this point, This could be huge as mouzMorroW is in an odd position. All the spine crawlers going to be moving in, trying to tank some damage potentially. The roaches push in as well, trying to take out the stalkers. But now mouzMorroW really doesn't have that much of a fighting force to be able to deal with this. Only 6 roaches here, and the drones will have to tank as much damage as possible while these infestors lay down some good fungal growth. There's the big fungal growth right there. And these roaches have their work cut out for them, as the blink micro here for dBischu is just overpowering his opponent. At the same time, we do have a lone drone over here, absolutely able to spot that. mouzMorroW is in a desperate position, going to be trying to get a few more roaches out at this point. Doesn't have any more minerals to be able to re-expand, so that is going to be it for mouzMorroW at this point. And all dBischu really needs to do right now is get this base up, get those cannons up, and oh, this is a bit of interesting. He's going to be going for the Nexus once again. We do have a few. Where on earth are those spine crawlers? There are the spine crawlers reburrowing, but not really in the best position at all. All the roaches are going to be pushing over here in order to try and deal some damage, and this could be very, very down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. Only a few buildings remain for dBischu, and I really don't understand this frame rate lag at all, but not to worry. And as dBischu now pushes in to try and clean this up, he has a lot more stalkers than the roach numbers here. And actually, these roach numbers are being whittled down ever so slightly, but oh my god, so much Stalker Blink Micro in this game. dBischu has done an absolutely fantastic job of pulling himself back into it. I really felt mouzMorroW was going to be able to take it, as he was so far ahead in supply for such a long time. These roaches in full retreat now, ladies and gents. And what he could do, actually, now that I think about it, is he could keep him running around for ages, move these spine crawlers. GG, though, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to say move those spine crawlers over to this creep and try and poke away, but it really wouldn't have mattered, as that was it for Mr. mouzMorroW. So that is going to do it for this best of 3, ladies and gentlemen. Big thank you for everyone joining. Please follow me on twitter.com/KyleAris, youtube.com/KyleArisStarcraft, and twitch.tv/KyleArisSC. Do a lot of streaming for Playhem, CSN, MLG, Forum Community, and Stim TV. So do check me out, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.